wherever you are. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. It's my pleasure to welcome all of you, the distinguished panelists, both international and national, on this webinar discussion on a topic that we have decided to celebrate 75 years of India's independence and also to celebrate the Pravasi Bhartiya Divas, which we just concluded. Topic is also relevant for the pandemic situation, and we will discuss about that. But on behalf of Organization for Diaspora Initiative, and also on behalf of Sarnámihuis, our co-host for this evening discussion, I'm very pleased to welcome all of you for this international discussion on India and its diaspora connect, opportunities and challenges. As you know, India itself is celebrating 75 years of independence, but at the same time, you find that there is a major pandemic situation which you are confronted. And the PBD celebration this year were also largely based on the web portal. And therefore, we could not meet physically. It's becoming difficult to meet and interact. So as an academic institution and as an academic body, we had been interacting through the webinars. We know we have a very distinguished panelist who will talk about this, but just to begin the discussion, the Indian diaspora, as after 75 years of independence, had changed drastically from what it was when India got independence. When we are celebrating 75 years, Indian diaspora is one of the largest one. It's largest one in terms of several things. It's one of the biggest contributor in terms of remittance to its mother country. It's also large in terms of number. It's around 35 million now. It's also significant in the sense that it is a diaspora which, despite several centuries, it is one of the few diaspora which has maintained its identity despite changing time, evolution in the world system, cultures, but Indianness had remained. 75 years has also witnessed Indian diaspora moving from a very low position when they migrated outside to a very high political economic ladder, where we find that they are heading governments in several countries. They are very prominent economically, they are very prominent professionally, and also in literary area. They won several prizes. So many things have changed since then. We have also seen that this diaspora, which suffered a policy of active dissociation for several initial decades, under globalization and under the prime ministership of Atal Bihari Vajpayee, when the diaspora engagement started, this moved so fast that the world always appreciate diaspora engagement policy, that after several decades of active diaspora dissociation, how India had been able to put its diaspora engagement policy in a fast gear. We have seen that this diaspora engagement in last 3 decades have moved from several priority areas from the Indian point of view, and also it has been meeting some of the evolving expectations from Indian people across the world. As we know that Indian diaspora is diverse, its expectations is and demand is not something which is common. It differs drastically many times. Some wants representation, some wants voting right, some just want cultural engagement. So all these differences need a policy that is diverse, because one policy does not suit all of them. And it is in this context that the 75 years of independence, when we are celebrating this, we also witness a China virus all over the world, which had thrown several challenges to India and its diaspora and to the world as well. We have seen that under the prime ministership of Sri Narendra Modi, how India had been able to reach out to diaspora countries with whatever limited resources it had in terms of medicine, in medical kits, in terms of medical professional support, reaching out and supplying the world the medicines and kits, whatever it could do, and it has emerged one of the leading country in this. And diaspora had been one of the prime target to reach out in the initial stage. But in 75 years, we also see that the expectation of diaspora is also changing drastically. The generational gaps is also emerging, and there are younger generation which look at India from different perspective. And we have challenges that we need to make in terms of our policy to connect with younger Indians. It is from this perspective that we have this India and its Diaspora Connect, which is celebrating 75 years of India Connect, which is celebrating the conclusion of Pravasi Bhartiya Divas, and which is also, I'm proposing that we discuss that what kind of challenges the pandemic throws to all of us for approaching the global problems together, to bring the worlds together, and to work together. We have very distinguished panelists. They will discuss on this. I will stop with this initial remark, but once again, I welcome all these six national and six international panelists. They are from academic side, they are from the civil society, and they are also a good number of them policymakers as the government bureaucrats. So welcome to all of you once again. And may I request now Dr. Jyoti Tyagi, who is based in Germany, who is the Associate Editor of Diaspora Studies, a leading journal on diaspora. And she is also the Deputy Director of Diaspora and Migration Institute. Over to you, Dr. Tyagi.
Thank you, sir. I will introduce the theme of the webinar, but before introducing the theme, I will introduce the Organization of Diaspora Initiatives with few lines. The Organization of Diaspora Initiatives, that is the ODI, is an organization that is working to understand the status, role of diaspora communities across the globe, both in the domestic and international contexts. And it maps the emerging roles, networks, and operations of different diaspora communities as a resource in international civil society space, as well as in the host and home countries. The ODI interacts and links various diasporic communities. With its head office in New Delhi, it has several sister organizations that are registered in many countries and publishes a biannual refereed world-class journal, Diaspora Studies, which is now published by Brill, Netherlands, and organizes and participates in conferences and seminars and other interactive activities of India and Indian diaspora, of Indian and other diasporas. And thus today ODI is organizing a webinar in collaboration with Diaspora and International Migration Program and Sarnámihuis, the Netherlands, on the theme India and its Diaspora Connect, Challenge and Opportunities, to examine the possible roadmaps, best global practice, roles and impacts of different stakeholders. I'm really sorry. And to identify the existing gaps in diaspora engagement practices of I'm really sorry for the disturbance. So I was saying ODI is organizing webinar in collaboration with Diaspora and an International Migration Program and Sarnámihuis, the Netherlands, on the theme India and its Diaspora Connect, Challenge and Opportunities, to examine the possible roadmaps, best global practices, roles and impacts of different stakeholders, and to identify the existing gaps in diaspora engagement practices of India in a comparative and global context. Now, diaspora engagement with their countries of origin is not new. Long before researchers, the international community, and policymakers took notice, immigrants and their descendants have taken part in development efforts at home, working with both the private and public sphere. Now, more than ever before, governments at both ends of migration cycle recognize the value of these engagements and are seeking ways to cooperate with them. Countries of origin wish to attract diaspora talents and resources, while countries of destination hope to increase the effectiveness of their development assistance and immigration and integration policies. Now, India is one of the pioneers in recognizing the importance of its overseas population and establishing an institutional framework for sustainable and mutually beneficial engagement with its diaspora. India has given mainstream attention to its very large overseas Indian community, estimated as the largest diaspora at over 32 million and spread across 189 countries. Overseas Indians are today recognized as the knowledge diaspora, and their virtual presence across sectors and in most parts of the globe makes them a strategic resource. Now, India recognized the need, therefore, to bring a strategic dimension to its engagement with its overseas community, and it has taken a medium to long-term view and is attempting to forge a partnership that will best serve India as a rapidly growing knowledge economy to drive innovation and entrepreneurship and meet the aspirations of the overseas Indian community as a significant constituency across the world. However, as Indian diaspora is very diverse in the ethnic, religious, linguistic category, located in diverse regions, different strengths and potential from higher and super skilled persons to low skilled and unskilled workers, the diaspora engagement of India cannot be a uniform pattern. There are, therefore, many challenges and opportunities. So the webinar will discuss following sub-themes: the historical patterns of Indian Diaspora Connect, Indian Diaspora Connect under globalization policy and practice, Indian Diaspora Connect economic opportunities and experiences, and the Indian Diaspora Connect political, diplomatic, and lobbying experiences. Thank you so much.
Could be discussed in this webinar discussion. I would suggest that the rest of the speakers on several themes that we have limit themselves to the 10 minutes initially, and then towards the end of their presentation, we will have the question answer, and people who wants to make intervention, they are welcome to make towards the end of that. So may now I invite Sri Shyam Parandeji, the Secretary General of Antarashtriya Sahayog Parishad, also the Secretary of Seva International. And Antarashtriya Sahayog Parishad, as all of you know, is one of the leading organizations in diaspora engagement, when diaspora engagement was not being practiced, was not thinkable in India's foreign policy. RSS and Antarashtriya Sahayog Parishad kind of organizations were very active to think about diaspora. In the days of active dissociation policy, which Congress followed since long time and all through their rule in India, organization like Antarashtriya Sahayog Parishad was the first to visualize and took a people-to-people level contact. If not at the government level, the people-to-people contact was established. And when Atal Bihari Vajpayee became Prime Minister, many of the policy changes that were implemented by him to take a complete U-turn, Antarashtriya Sahayog Parishad was very crucial in terms of suggesting, and its Secretary General then, Sri Baleshwar Agrawal was the member of the high-level committee under L.M. Singhvi to suggest changes in diaspora policy from active dissociation to proactive association. And Sri Shyam Parandeji is leading that organization. And I, as a student, also grew with this organization, got sensitized and worked for my research work in which this organization helped all of us. So we have a very eminent person leading a very eminent organization, to share his view on celebrating 75 years of India's independence and the challenge and opportunity for Diaspora Connect. Over to Shyam Parande ji.
Thank you, Professor Dubey, and namaste to all my co-panelists. I don't think there could have been a better panel to discuss the challenges and the opportunities for Indian diaspora than the one present today. I'm sure we'll have a very good illuminating evening. And with that, I'd like to, because everybody was talking about the diversity. India is known for its diversity. Rather, diversity is India's strength. With so many languages, so many types of dresses, cuisines, and all that.
हेलो गुड
We
इवनिंग
are
कविता एक काम से फोन
Yes.
we stand together despite all that and have withstood the test of time. And while we migrate, while the Indian diaspora migrated to various countries, we have found that they could deal with the local diversity as well as they had been used to what they lived in India. So that's our strength, and we should carry out with that. Culturally, we need to understand that the local cultures will understand us better once we start interacting with them. And I feel there'll be many commonalities and similarities that can be found locally, while there is, of course, the diversity or the differences, all that. And I feel that if this has to be understood, a better communication with the local host community has to be established at societal level rather than governmental level. As I was introduced, that I also work for Seva International globally during the COVID times. Indian community served at least on record in 34 countries across the world, either through my organization, Seva International, or otherwise. And this was a mammoth charitable experience that went across all the countries or all the continents where diaspora exists, because in many other countries it might have happened and it has not come to the notice till now. But it was a great effort. Like during the first wave, Indian society supported the students in a big way. Indian students who are learning in many universities across many countries, they were supported for their stay, food, and everything. And all this worked better during the second wave because many Indian origin organizations came together. Like in USA, 500 Indian origin organizations came together to support India. So that effort, concerted effort and comprehensive, helped India in a big way. It was not only the USA, it's UK, even the Arab region, Europe, European Union, African countries, Australian organizations, or Indian organizations, Australia. So much so that in one of the state parliament of Australia passed a resolution to support COVID efforts through Seva International. And this is something which came because all the organizations came together on a platform to serve local community during the first wave, and when it was needed in India during the second wave, they did so. The government, appreciating their services, has sent the fund through Seva International to India. It's like that it happened. Well, on the diaspora front, coming back to today's topic, the challenges are many. As in many other countries, the fifth generation, sixth generation, fourth generation is asking questions. We have not come from India, you might have, and they need to be properly responded to, convincingly elaborated what relation they carry from the country of their source. Culturally, if they are properly connected, it will happen, it will grow. And there should be more programs to engage youth with India. And this can be many programs. Government of India might be running KIP, but beyond that, all Indian organizations, diaspora organizations, should try to come up with a program for youth, connecting them for languages, learning languages, for culturally creating them up, making them aware. And if this happens, there'll be a better engagement with the youth amongst the diaspora for the future. Anyway, because of COVID, we have come to or found the technology already existed, but was not in use as much as it could have been. And this is one of the advantages that COVID has provided us. It will be better to come up with such programs and bring Indian diaspora organizations together for this awareness. Well, we also need to talk about our own expertise, and one of the expertise is agriculture. That the Girmitia migration happened for this very purpose. But in the course of time, we have slowly migrated out of that expertise, and the new generations have given up agriculture, which had been our forte. I think many other countries can learn from India or Indian expertise, and even the farmers can migrate and to cultivate lands in various continents. Again, this can be one of the major skill set that we can come provide for the world. India has expertise in another very parallel skill, and that's dairy development. We need to consider that can be another opportunity for migration, something like agriculture. And beyond that, I feel the government's initiative for skill development in India has created a lot of skilled personnel that might be low skill, high skill, or experts. But if we engage properly, there are many opportunities staring at us from across the world. And this is something that gives us the opportunity for migration. Migration will be a mainstay for years to come or decades to come, while India prospers and while Prime Minister of India said a couple of times that this is from brain drain to brain game, but it's still in progress. And if it has to be accomplished, Indian diaspora will have to have a positive role in searching for opportunities and connecting Indian youth to such areas where it can happen. Secondly, trade, industry, and business, and even strategic affairs can be thought of. And government of India should engage diaspora while they interact or have trade with the countries wherever they be, might be Europe, might be Americas, or wherever. If that happens, the part beneficiary of that can be Indian diaspora also. And I look forward to views of others. And thank you for giving me opportunity. And I still insist that the local connect is most important. As Indian diaspora prospers, grows wealthy, and reaches the top of the country, wherever they be, they should be connected to the local society also. With that, thank you very much. Namaste.
The generational gaps, the challenge that is there for the new generation to connect with it. Also highlighting that the professional requirement of Indian diaspora from the past has changed drastically now, though the kind of professional expertise they have is also facing the same challenges. Earlier, when they were the best cane cutter, they were hired all over the world. They were the most preferred one, and they were the least paid and exploited. Now we have the digital expertise, digital Indian diaspora. Many of them are low paid, though they are required, they are sought after all over the world, and they face the similar situation. So, but what has changed drastically is that India in the past, even through the Indian National Congress, through Mahatma Gandhi, had agitated to end the indentured migration. Even in the post-independence phase, we had, as you said, there was a question of brain drain, that NRI will call not required Indian, not really Indians. But now again, we have moved where our expertise in knowledge economy in different areas are being sought all over, and we are trying to promote migration of the professional, and it is quite a reverse policy, and this is a new challenge to connect with diaspora and to treat diaspora differently. Thank you, Shyamji, for highlighting some of the very key issues. Now we have another very distinguished panelist, Professor Santri C. Pandit. She is Professor of Political Science from Pune University. She had been teaching earlier at Goa University. She is a renowned world-class expert on international relations and political science. She had been participating and helping us with our international relation perspective on foreign policies. Professor Santri had her doctorate from Jawaharlal Nehru University, and then she had been teaching at different places. Over to you, Professor Santri.
Thank you, Professor Dubey, and all my fellow panelists, dear students. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I just want to address three issues. One is the issue is what is Indianness when we are talking of connecting the Indian diaspora? Do we want it as a civilizational connect, or how are you going to look at it? As a student of international relations and others, I think with diversity, as stressed by Shri Shyam Parandeji, diversity is very, very, is a strength, because I come from the southern state of Tamil Nadu. So if you see the Tamil diaspora, in many of the countries of Southeast Asia, Sri Lanka, and including Canada, they want to keep the difference, especially the linguistic difference is very, very strong. Even in the United States of America, I have seen that even among the Telugus and Tamils, even if you are the South India, even in building temples, they are into different communities. So I would rather say we should go in for an idea of concentric circles, because the Indian identity is multifaceted. So you can be linguistically, caste-wise, gender-wise, anything, but finally, it is your civilizational connect. So this is the first point I want to place before all the experts, and want to have an idea whether, because this is something I think we have to actively propagate, because otherwise it will create divisions, taking the recent funding for extremist movements like the Khalistani coming from a diaspora community in Canada. So I would rather say the second is political and strategic issues. How are we going to deal with, just now Shyam Parandeji said that they should have the local connect. How should they assimilate into the country they live in? Or they should maintain the separate identity that they're Indians? This is a major issue. Why am I raising it? I'm raising it because we have had, take the case of Sri Lanka. We have had a dominant minority, the Tamils, and as the ambassadors here will vouch for it, we have had a very, very violent, difficult, and the Indian government also was placed in a lot of, what I would say, complicated position, whether to support the Indian community there or to accept that no group will play this role. So it's politically and strategically also very important of how we want to support, or what is the message we want to send to the Indian communities in different parts of the Indian diaspora, as we call them. Because this is extremely important, because politically and strategically, they are our base, but in many countries, we have issues regarding this diasporic community. The third point I would like to place before most of you is, while talking about the connect, should we just keep to economic? Do we want them to invest in India, like the Chinese diaspora, or like the Jewish diaspora? What are our expectations from them? At least, despite Professor Dubey telling us that there has been a huge paradigm shift after Prime Minister Vajpayee became the Prime Minister. But still, somehow I feel that our diaspora policy has to be much more, focused, and much more clarity as to what do we expect from them and what do they expect from us, other than cultural, economic. But let me tell you, the Indian diaspora in the United States of America, where I had the experience of it, I think they're much more ritually and culturally Indian than Indians themselves. So you do have also this contradiction that happens, because when you're far away from your country, you tend to be much more to identify with what you call your roots. And whether Indian, fourth idea I want to place before you, as some of us are university academics, can there be programs that can be tailored for what Shyam Parandeji had suggested for the fifth or sixth generation Indians who have no idea of how India is as well? So is there a way in which we can connect to them? And can universities take this up with, rather just asking the government only to do, meaning groups, private, public institutions? So I thank Professor Ajay Dubey once again for giving me this opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Santisri, for highlighting the diversity aspect of it and how to address the issues of the new generation connecting with India. University was planned long ago, and then somehow it has not taken off. Maybe in future, we should do that. There are several countries who have very intensive diaspora engagement, and they have the system of having universities where 50% of students are from outside and 50% from the local countries. They also have, in fact, a third chamber of parliament where they invite people, discuss issues of common concern, and it is just a suggestive body. Italy has the third chamber of parliament, and there are several engagement policy that several diaspora are trying. So what you suggested, that we need more clarity for our roadmap and how to move forward and how to learn the best practices of engagement from other diaspora. We need to pick that up. But it is a recent policy of engagement, just 3 decades old, and we are each learning, and we are fine tuning both the diaspora expectation and our expectation from diaspora, and we discover the right one when we go along. Thank you so much. Now we have Ambassador Anil Tringuyat. He is a career diplomat. He had been in foreign service for several years. He had served in several Indian missions, like in Cote d'Ivoire, Bangladesh, Mongolia, USA, Russia, Sweden, Nigeria, Libya, Jordan, and Indian ambassador in several countries. He had the insight of understanding the old diaspora policy as well, where the Indian diplomats were trained and were told the diaspora is as good as a foreign citizens. And he probably saw the change of that when diaspora became a prime focus of India's foreign policy. He had been, besides a diplomat, also a graduate from Jawaharlal Nehru University. So welcome to you, sir, for your view to give the inside view of the policymakers. Over to you.
Thank you, Professor Dubey, and it is so good to see some of the dear friends here in the panel, including Mr. Parande and Dr. Pandit, and you all and excellencies who are going to be part of the panel. I was just wondering what to talk today, because it's like carrying coal to Newcastle. All of you know what has been happening and have been commenting and contributing a great deal to the development of the policies. I will take it from where you asked me to move from. My first posting was to Africa and Ivory Coast, which is Cote d'Ivoire now. And when I arrived there, so that was my first also experience with what the diaspora was there. And of course, there was no policy. And as you rightly mentioned, that very often you consider the diaspora as illegal immigrants. Or as Prime Minister Modi put it in one of his speeches, that they were NRI, means non-required Indians. Or sometimes non-reliable Indians. Like various epithets have been used for them. But as was mentioned earlier, they have become from brain drain to brain gain to brain trust, and now to brain transfer that we are looking forward to. So when I arrived there, I was pretty sure, because the Western Africa, as you have researched a lot, Professor Dubey, in Africa, the thing is that the Francophone Western Africa is the one place where India was very little known. And so not many people will go. But to my surprise, there were 3 types of people I met. One was one single gentleman who was a yogi and a disciple of Dhirendra Brahmachari. And he had his yoga center, and anybody who was somebody in the country, down from president downwards, was his disciple or a chela or yogi working there. Now you can imagine, for a diplomat, it was such a great access point for me. So that's when you learn the value of the diaspora in that sense of the term. So it provided me an instant access when I started doing yoga practices with those people there. Secondly, I found that there was a French rapid deployment forces which were stationed there. And the head of that forces, who was protecting the president and everybody else and ensuring the security of the palace, one was Colonel Ravi from Pondicherry.
Mm.
And likewise, there were about hundreds of Pondicherrians who were looking after the French accountancy services in the diplomacy. Even today, they are the ones who have been doing that for quite some time. So, but they connected with India. They always used to meet us. They invited us and talk, but they were not strictly the Indian diaspora in that sense of the term. But of course, there was a cultural connect, as was mentioned.
Mm.
And thirdly, there were about 30 odd Sindhi families. And these Sindhi families were businessmen. And these people had their own temple. They were doing very well, actually. But they had not come from India directly, like independent India. They had all migrated from Pakistan at the time to other countries and then moved to Ivory Coast. So from my perspective, that was my very first and very excellent experience, I would say. The second experience that I had about the diaspora was in Nigeria when I arrived there. Again, another West African country. There were about more than 30,000 Indians, and majority of them were either industrialists or entrepreneurs. And the president of Obasanjo, I had to meet him for some very urgent work as soon as I arrived. But you go through the diplomatic protocol, and those who are diplomats here know very well, it takes forever. And there are so many protocols involved. So I requested one of the Indians who has been there, third generation. I said, President Obasanjo, can I somehow meet? Within 2 days, I had a meeting with the president. So that shows that the people there had. So what President Obasanjo, who was well trained in India and all, told me, he said the Indians here are the second largest providers or employers of Nigerians in the country after the federal government. So that is the kind of thing. And you all know, we know that Indian government had no policy to engage diaspora in Africa until very recently. They were not even part of the PVD, as it is, so to say. So when, and thirdly, I dealt with the diaspora, which is, of course, for 20 years in the Middle East, which is a diaspora by itself, which has a lot of political clout back home, which is cared for, which is also shunned and not treated well often. This has been the case with them. But from blue collar to white collar to the whitest collar, we have seen that they have grown in strength and they have grown, everybody likes them. That is something. But this is also the most reliable diaspora that you have. Because they are the ones, whatever remittances, about 1/10 of India's foreign exchange annually comes from there through remittances. And it doesn't go back, unlike coming from other countries where it is invested or put in some other places for a short-term period. So they have been connected. They are NRIs. They are the devout citizens of India, but they have suffered a great deal during the pandemic, as we mentioned, and we'll have to find policies exactly what do we do. We have done something, I think Swadesh or some kind of app where we have tried to create a database of their skills, and all those who have come, lakhs of them have come back, abroad back. How would they go back? This will be a challenge for us. And the challenge is that we'll have to reskill, retrain, because all these economies, especially the oil-rich economies in the Gulf, are diversifying their economies. They are being digitized totally. They are going into the AI way, and therefore their requirements of the workforce will change completely. And we will have to work out that challenge because Indians are generally liked very much. Of course, our relations politically are excellent with those countries. Coming now to a little bit to the USA where I served. So when I arrived there, of course, Indians were very rich. They were very powerful. But you still have, somebody mentioned about it, you have a Jackson Heights there, where a large number of Indians live. There are still some of the small areas where they are living in places in New Jersey, and whether you go to California or area, you will find most of them living in the areas where they normally are feeling comfortable with the community. Somebody told me there that 30 years ago when we came, so if you saw another Indian on the street, you would invite him into home. But 30 years later, they would rather shun them because there is a gradation of their status. Exactly. Today, The Indian community in the United States is probably the highest per capita earner. They are the great professionals. They have tremendous political clout. They are the leaders, with similarly in governors and whatnot, all kinds of things. They are ministers in Canada, they're ministers in the UK, and the president, prime ministers in many countries in the Pacific, in the Caribbean islands, and even we have Ambassador Mauritius here today. So we see that what they have done is during that period, I tried to interact with the community. But our community in 1990s, when economic reforms had just begun, and we wanted to attract investments into India, we wanted to attract technology from there. So we thought that this would be the best course for us to approach the diaspora. They would only come to embassy for either a visa or for a passport. I mean, that was the only main connect with them, or they had, but they were all divided into regions. You will have a Bihar Association of North America, or you have a Tamil Association of North America, and like that. So there were so many groups, and almost all our ministers, everybody who went there, would say that I'm going to meet the NRI. That was their basic game, and for whatever purpose. But it did not serve much purpose to integrate them. So the whole idea was, and then they were so divided into various 400 odd groups, it was very difficult. So we studied the Jewish system. And we told them, look, Jews are also so many groups there. But when a question of Jews, Israel comes, they are all one. They control the country. They get things moving. And this happens till today. And I'm happy to see today that Kamala Harris downwards, a lot of people do have the Indian blood in them. And they are very well connected. They look forward to India. But at that time, India was a weak country, a poor country. It did not have much of that. So you could like India, but you wanted to say, oh, no, I am from Tamil Nadu, because intellectually people are Muslim. I'm from XYZ place. Today, you see the youth saying, yes, they proudly say that we are Indian. So India has arrived, Indians have arrived. So that's what I'm saying, that it is a thing that has moved. And now how do we use it? We had used them. I can assure you that I've been part of that stream when we tried to get a lot of people from Wall Street into Indian markets. More than 100 companies came here. The large number of IT revolution that the companies who came to India, these are Indian origin people who connected with the Silicon Valley or I-95 with the Indian thing. Today we can owe ourselves when we say it's a knowledge diaspora, or India is a knowledge economy, or a country that is really got back to. I think we owe a great deal to those Indians living in the Western countries, and they have helped us a great deal. But now, the last, I mean, one more person, I would say only in the context of Jammu and Kashmir. Earlier this week, we read the news. A friend of mine, Yusuf Ali, whom most of you might be knowing, is a rich guy. He had just gone there as a very small person, and today he's the richest in the Middle East. And he has brought a big delegation to invest in Kashmir, into various things. So that is an important thing from our point of view. They were also very useful for us in the civil nuclear deal that was happening. I'm just take 2 more minutes and I have finished. I just want to tell you that Government of India has launched many programs. Now they're looking at science. They have done WebHub or us, or those everybody knows about it. But I want to tell you, just 2 years ago, I had mentored about a group of youngster professionals who wanted to study the dynamic and the whether the government policies or the Indian government's programs are reaching to the people or not. It is not a comprehensive survey, but I have shared it with the MEA also. The survey was with about, so they were asked several questions. Of course, they were across 24 countries, including the United States, from where the majority, 39% were from there. And they were in the age group of 31 to 50. Now, majority of the respondents said that they were satisfied or very satisfied in Government of India's response in evacuating diaspora from the conflict zones, including during the pandemic. An overwhelming majority, about 96%, it may be absolutely wrong, but it's an indicative survey, stated that they were not aware of any of the schemes launched by the Government of India. So a lot needs to be done, because that's a very big factor. And then they said that they believed in India's economic growth. About 76% said they have invested in India through one or more instruments. That is equity, debt, real estate, FD, etc. This is what I mentioned when I said that the money that the Gulf countries invested is in different way. And only 12% said that they have any business interest in India. Now, that is a potential that I think we need to work upon. And so there are several recommendations that we have sent. I will stop here, and I'd like to thank you once again for having me.
Sets of countries, and also the changes that you saw in diaspora engagement, including in USA. Of course, as you said, in USA, the per capita income of Indian diaspora is double than the per capita income of whites in United States. In terms of family income, I was saying per capita. And 150,000 migrate every year from India to United States. And as you very rightly pointed out, they have changed quite a bit in terms of their clout in United States and the way they affect the governance over there. The diaspora policy, as you said, which started in 90s, was of course an eye-opener when India in early 90s tried to reach out to diaspora for parking their money in the State Bank of India, where India had just not even 2 billion US dollar to pay for its foreign exchange, and reaching out the diaspora in United States in early 90s. They naturally said, "Hello, India, where are you? We don't know where you are." And it simply happened, even person like Mr. Karan Singh and others had gone campaigning for that. And the diaspora said for several decades, you always had a policy of active dissociation, not preferring over the natives. And now you want our money, so why should we park our money in your bank when you are going down the drain? Any day you could be declared bankrupt. You just need 2 billion US dollar. But anyway, there was a vested interest for them that if India becomes bankrupt, goes down further, it also affects their image. As you very rightly pointed out, that when India has arrived now, they are very happy of being of Indian descent, and they say very proudly that they are of Indian origin. But if India had gone the other way, it could have been a very different story for them. So they had a vested interest to see India growing and rising. And of course, when Bajpayee government came, then the policy changed. And of course, they parked $8 billion under 2 and 3 India resurgent bond that India launched. And the 2 billion for which we had airlifted 2 plane loads of gold parked in Bank of England just to give the bank guarantee for 2 billion so that we don't become bankrupt. We have paying power remains. So they helped us out with 8 billion US dollar parked in our India resurgent bond. Anyway, thank you for your insights, for bringing from several countries. Now we have a very eminent speaker, Ambassador Asna Kanhai, who was Suriname ambassador to India, and she brought in all the diaspora power to India, which you can feel in the power corridor of South Bloc, where the ambassadors of several important countries had difficulty in getting appointment. She was getting all her projects done and getting appointments at a very short notice. We had seen her here. She had stayed for a long time, was a very good friend of Indian academics in JNU, participated in several of our interaction on diaspora, brought in several diaspora ambassadors through her contact in our interaction from diaspora countries. Thank you so much, Ambassador Asna Kanhai, for joining. Over to you.
Thank you, Professor Dubey. आपका स्नेह के लिए बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. I assume that everybody speaks Hindi.
We have people from several countries, including Malaysia and several others. So all of them don't know, but you can continue with some of your initial remarks. Yes.
There is. I usually, Professor Dubey, thank you very much for all the warmth given. Yes, it has been a journey for me to serve in India, I would say it's more like it has been an honor basically to be in the land of my ancestors. And I just first would like to congratulate India with Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. Also, I would like to congratulate all of us with PBD. And I am very happy to see many faces that I know of various interactions which I had on fora like this.
I think there is
As
some.
Especially, I would like to say very, very dear pranam, Mr. Shyam Parande, who basically introduced station is one's animals that understand from all parts of that's when that does not necessarily mean so, but I'll stick to my points, otherwise I'll go into length and depth about my beautiful tenure in India, which I, by the way, finished this last summer. In July, I left back to my own country. So I feel that there are a few challenges to start with. We should bridge the distance. And the distance, I would say, consists of two things. Just like India is divided in states, in a similar way, the PIO community abroad of India is also divided into states. We cannot compare the PIO of Malaysia with the PIO of the Caribbean. Similarly, and I think this point has already been raised also, we could not look at the Indian diaspora in, for instance, Mauritius. They may be similar to that of the Caribbean, but still there are differences. So whatever point I will make today will be based on me being PIO in the Caribbean. So that distance of communities to community, and we are connected to India, but we are more connected with that state of India where our ancestors belonged to. And what I missed while I was in my tenure as ambassador is the connection with the particular state, because we know that there are state governments in India which are very powerful, and having Uttar Pradesh currently in the limelight, I hello, is
Yes,
someone
yes.
speaking?
You
Can
are
you hear me? Okay. Am I?
audible.
So yeah, so I feel that we should have that connection, and that is one of the challenges which I feel I though I had, as you said, a lot of doors open, and in this way I should say that I celebrate Mrs. Sushma Swaraj outreach during my tenure when it came to PIO policy. I also feel that we have, so the bridging the distance is there. Then we should also follow changing perspective, because in the 10 years in which I've been ambassador, I would frequently go to fora like yours, as you said, and actively participate in diaspora discussions. Yet I feel that the perspective, when the pioneering policy movement of Shri Atal Bihari Vajpayee started, I think, the perspective must have been very vibrant, and it was targeting a certain purpose. Yet, in the course of time, I think we should have also formulated particular perspectives based on lessons learned and experiences. So policy is there, yet I feel that we should change perspectives of policies. That's why policies are so interesting, I feel. Also, I do think that we should equate the initiatives. We are thankfully celebrating the initiative that the government and the people of India have undertaken in understanding the eminence of policy regarding PIO. Yet, what is the how do we equate the initiatives? That's how I call it. Because what is the value of the outreach of India? How is it being seen in the receiving country, in the receiving PIO country? Do we wish to be seen as a child of a motherland? Do we wish to be seen as a part of Pan India? Do we want to take our own decision regarding how to receive the policies? And are we happy with the approach taken towards us? I'm not being critical. Yet, I do feel that we as PIO countries, having served in India as a diplomat, I do feel that we are not making enough use of the outreach that India is extending to us. We are not showing any initiative. I'm speaking on behalf of course, the Caribbean diaspora, and I'm talking, if I'm permitted to speak on behalf of other countries as well, because I've seen it. You know, there is an example that I will give. We had to talk about, if I'm correct, we had ARSP had initiated a big seminar, and after that seminar, I kept on seeing the same people coming from the same country until the government of that country changed. So Kanhai was there when the government which appointed Kanhai was there. But then Kanhai kept silent when the government changed. And that's not what we should have. And I'm very grateful to the ODI that it sees um, uh, the importance of the contributions that people can bring and entities can bring. So that brings me to my next challenge, and I hope that you forgive me for being so critical. Um, I am an apolitical party having served under a certain political uh, government yet. Anyways, coming back. So I feel that the government of India has undertaken more than required efforts to reach out and to make policies and to develop policies. Yet the perspective of those policies actually lays in the hand of NGOs. And I do feel to that extent that the ODI is making that effort to be um, in interaction with the PIO community. And I do think that Professor Dubé's tireless efforts, because I think Professor Dubé is a pioneer in NGOing the PIO movement in our world at the moment. So I feel that we should look at the personal interests, the ego interests, the political interests, etc., and do away with these kind of actually disturbances when it comes to organizing the NGO community, the NGO entities, which should be helpful in facilitating. I do not know, for instance, where the Indian embassy, when it starts reaching out to PIO, that it will have to deal with certain NGOs. And I will tell you out of my own experience. When we were setting up a monument in Kolkata, I realized, so I figured that we found the place from where the ships were loaded with the migrants. And Mrs. Sushma Swaraj, who was the most amazing foreign minister that your country could have, by the way, she was very happy with the initiative of proposing. And so her ministry supported. The Overseas Indian Affairs Division was very, very supportive in the ministry. Yet I don't know which are the counterparts of OIA in our own countries. I have no clue how the Indian embassies actually deal with policies. And I feel that it is more or less a job for NGOs to do, to basically be the counterpart and then to come to a point where it becomes a more important and more important role, where it gets to play a more important role in order to get governments to listen. Because mind you, that the PIO community in my country lives within a multi-ethnic society. So it is there, but any government will have to consider whatever we give to PIOs, we'll have to give to that other group and this other group, etc. In this regard, I would like to mention, for instance, that holidays, national holidays, making Hindu holidays or Islamic holidays into it actually goes without saying for any government that it has to be a simultaneous process. अगर हम लोग क्रिश्चियंस को दे रहे हैं तो हिंदूज को देना चाहिए, उनको देना चाहिए, इनको देना चाहिए. So, and in most of the cases, the PIO community in our countries is a slight minority. So the political challenges that we face, we can't say that we will rule by PIO majority. It's not possible in any of those countries, in any of the countries in the Caribbean at current. So I do think that the NGO level of facilitators for PIO policy should be considered and should be put on a bilateral agenda, for instance. During my tenure, I did do so. And hopefully we'll have an ODI chapter in Suriname soon.
Thank you.
So those were the challenges. Now I'll go to the opportunities which I feel after my visit to Lucknow. Actually, it catalyzed in my mind. And whatever Shri Shamparande just said makes sense for when it comes to the diaspora of the Caribbean. Because the migrants which were taken from the UP region, which was a bigger UP than we have today, geographically, those people were skilled laborers. They were kisans and we know what kisan means by now, I hope, because we've seen the international news of how revolutionary kisans can be, especially Indian kisans. So these skilled kisans were taken to places like my country and other parts of the Caribbean. Now, why haven't we made that connect with UP? Why haven't we made that agricultural and especially that connect with Uttar Pradesh and Bihar? And I have taken Dr. Pandit's point that with regard to, for instance, Tamil Nadu. Now, we do not know anything about Tamil Nadu. For us, PIO in the Caribbean, it's a different world. So make us relate with UP, make us relate with, and then we get to know the country of our ancestors. Because for me, it made sense. When I visited Lucknow and when I went to the village in Barabanki, where apparently my ancestors used to do puja, it was, when I left from my country to start my tenure, I never expected to feel what I felt that day. I felt that I could understand the people, and I was with me was an officer, an official who had come from Delhi. So he was surprised to see that I was speaking in proper Bhojpuri with Pandit Ramdhar in a village in Barabanki. And then I had the opportunity to meet Sri Adityanath Yogi, and I asked him, why can't we make that connect? Why can't the state of Uttar Pradesh reach out? But then I realized that the state of Uttar Pradesh should be facilitated in my own country. Where are the NGOs? Why aren't the NGOs making that connect? Is it because of ego interest, political interest, other interest, cultural interest only? So redefining the role of NGOs is, I think, important. Now, continuing the opportunities, I feel that we should also develop an eminent role when it comes to the diaspora again in the Caribbean. We should look at the role of language. Bhojpuri is still very much alive. And if we say in Trinidad and in Guyana it's not there, it's still there because they sing songs. More Tor is being sang at any Lawa function, at any Bhatwan function, it's being sang. So the language is still, why aren't we looking for opportunities to officialize that language? Why aren't we doing soft diplomacy towards getting an official status as one of the spoken languages in our countries? So that I think is an opportunity. I also feel that the PIO community in the Caribbean has done a good job in preserving the legacy of traditions, culture, and rituals. So I do feel that we should have paradox. I do feel that we should have the role of conservation. We should not. How do I say this properly? I don't think that we should forget and maybe develop and support in that role. Then we have my last one is that I don't think that, and this is something that many of you may not like, but I don't think that talking about Indian diaspora, especially in the Caribbean, should always be an intellectual exercise. I think it should also be an exchange. And I do feel that on a government level and on a non-government level, we know each other already. We know each other that much that we should have, it should be possible to have a Natak company coming from Bharat to show us, or to do online if that's the only opportunity that we have during these times of COVID crisis in the world. I do feel that it should not always be an intellectual connect, because what happens then is that the people who are not intellectuals may not be included. And it's not only a role for the ICCR to do, because ICCR, I think, has a lot of other countries also, and ICCR is an Indian institution. So when it comes to funding and having the artists over, etc., there are a million ways to, and that's something that I feel that's why we should connect the state of a region. So I conclude by saying that I feel that the opportunities still supersede the challenges. And I hope, and I really, really hope that today's exercise, I mean, I should thank the previous speakers because some made very critical remarks. I learned a lot from the two previous speakers. So I would thank everybody for listening to me at this point. And I am very much there to give any kind of contribution when it comes to engaging in PIO. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ambassador Asna Kanai, for raising very important point from a diaspora perspective, who had not been a diaspora herself, but had used the diaspora power in India and seen several of these diaspora initiative responses in terms of policies and also in terms of non-government organizations directed towards diaspora. Yes, of course, I think we do appreciate that NGOs are important in policy making, including on diaspora. Policies, even by Government of India, is not made in vacuum. It has to have inputs from the society, and societal inputs do matter quite a bit. When Congress had a policy till early 90s not to have any linkages with the Indian diaspora, NGOs were the vehicle through which India and its diaspora were connected, through organizations like ARSP, through RSS, and through several other cultural and regional non-governmental organizations. And you are very right that UP Bihar diaspora is least connected compared to the other diaspora, whether Punjabi, whether Gujarati, whether from Kerala, whether from Tamil Nadu. It's least connected, despite being a very large in number. And I have not much explanation, except that I can say that diaspora of Bihari origin need to work more, because people in Bihar and UP are more busy managing India than managing diaspora outside. So, so that might be the reason that they are focusing on local politics more than outside. And also the fact that multicultural society
Stop
that we
nothing,
have
Tahu and
in
so.
Trinidad and Tobago. Of course, it does not throw any challenge as such. And our next speaker, who himself is a diaspora, comes from a diaspora dense country, Mauritius, will share with us that how the presence of different ethnic group is a resource. It's not a constraint for Indian diaspora, and how they have used each ethnic or diasporic resources, I would say, to the hilt, whether the 1% white diaspora, whether 3% Chinese diaspora, whether Indian diaspora, 68% were 27% African diaspora. They've used all of them very thoroughly for their country. So, Ambassador Kanhai, I think the multicultural diasporic presence is not a challenge for Indian diaspora. It can be managed along with other ethnic community. Thank you so much for sharing your views. And before I invite an ambassador of Indian origin, Ambassador Mukeshwar Chuni, let me just acknowledge the presence of some of the eminent speakers who are not part of our presentation today, but their presence is very important in terms of the listening to their contribution during discussion session. Is Professor Chandrasekhar Bhatt from Hyderabad Central University, where he established diaspora studies, one of the first department. We have a legendary Professor Binsley Samaru from Trinidad and Tobago, who has specialized on the subject in the region, and also globally very respected speaker and author on the subject. We also have Dr. Veronica Smith from Francophone region from Caribbean. We have several of them. I can't list all of them here right now, but I would request all of you to participate in the slot that we have for discussion and share your views. Thank you so much, Ambassador Kanai, and Ambassador Mukeshwar Chuni, the next speaker, as you know, was Mauritian ambassador to India. Another person who, like Ambassador Kanhai, and especially I'm glad that he's here, used his diasporic connect to show the diaspora power within India. Very popular ambassador, BG all through the years into government, non-government, cultural organization all through. And he had been a minister for several years, for 14 years, and handled the Department of Cultures. Under his ministership and leadership, initiatives were taken to establish the diaspora route, Indian diaspora route project. And he had been one of the celebrated cultural leaders of Mauritius. Over to you, Ambassador Mukeshwar Chuni. He was here. Has he logged out, or is there any problem? Oh, he's there. You have not, Ambassador Chuni? Yes, yes. Your voice is not audible to us, and yes, we can see your box now. Yes. Ambassador Chuni, we can't hear you properly. Could you just increase the volume? Yes, yes, yes. It's better, but closer to the mic, please. Yes.
So now better?
It's better, yes.
Now better?
Yes.
So once again, congratulations for this wonderful initiative, Professor. Now? Okay.
Yes, yes. Slightly fainted, but maybe you can come closer or increase the volume of your mic. Okay, no problem. Please carry on. We can hear you, though it's not very Loud, but we can hear you clearly.
Can you can see me also?
No,
You can't
unfortunately,
see me.
no. No,
No. Now
no.
there's a problem somewhere. Anyway, I come closer to the mic.
Yeah, please carry on. Yes. I think we
So
can't see
once
you
again,
because there's some
congratulations.
problem with your camera. Yes. Are you on mobile phone?
Yeah, I'm on mobile. Yeah.
Okay, okay, then please
Very
carry on.
fast.
Yes.
I am on mobile, and
Yes.
once again, congratulations. So, as you introduced me as a former ambassador of Mauritius to India, it's good that I point out that actually the president of
Good evening.
Mauritius
जवाब
can
देने के लिए
share some information about Gopio National and the Indian diaspora. Gopio is the voice of the Indian diaspora, which includes the 30 million strong diaspora. I think it's the strongest in the world, which increases by millions every year. Every some 5 million travel, and they go therefore across outside India. There are opportunities inside time. And then what is more important is this diaspora is worth 5 billion USD. Diaspora that I'm talking about, which you are very much aware, research a lot in and so many things. But it's good that we are aware that those in US, UK, and other top countries, the topmost cream of society, intellectuals and professionals, and of course politicians, they are one group. The traders and businessmen, business community, are another group. The handy workers in the Gulf countries, third group, and the fourth group is the Girmitias or the indentured laborers, their descendants. So I am proud to say that I am the great grandson of Girmitia. Came to Mauritius in 1865. I am the fourth generation, and for the purpose of this conference, not about different views and approaches of how all diaspora is functioning and is connected. So for the purpose of this conference, I will focus on the Girmitias, that is those who signed a contract and agreed and went by sailing ships to unknown destinations. Islands in the ocean, islands in the Pacific and Atlantic, and of course the Caribbean. As mentioned earlier, they were known for being good workers in agriculture, but taken to destinations by. I have a very important point. I don't know whether, Professor, you have done some research on that. It's an observation that I like to. The Mauritian Girmitias, they came to Mauritius under a contract of 5 years. After 5 years, they were supposed to go back to India. But most of them stayed back. You know what was the salary like? The allowance that was given to them was 5 rupees per month, of which 1 was kept by the barons, sugar barons, the causes, was kept per month 1 rupee for them to go back to India. But when they never went, they stayed in our homeland, slaves. That 1 for 60 months, 5 years, is 60 rupees. Okay, 60 rupees means nothing to them. But that was it given to the laborers? No, they were not. The money was kept. They were never given them. And in 60 rupees of 80 up to 19 worth millions today. So I'll request Professor ODI and JNU and all your students who coming teachers whom you send open for research for their projects to think about studying. I feel this is a study for research because this did happen on I am sure all countries similar contracts were signed, maybe similar sort of money was retained, and what happened there, on this we can do some research. Second observation, you know it very well. Find education that the narratives of the colonizers, whether it was in economy, education, or history, are all distorted. This was done purposely to reflect the outrageous, sometimes criminal behavior as justification for development and not exploitation. Here also, I feel we can do some homework, some research on why this happened. I know you have done a lot, sir. You have made some research, bring up our voices, to show the world the truth. But this truth of the legacies of exploitative behavior and ongoing inequalities, be it for Mauritius or other countries or other countries of the diaspora, or even India, inequalities, the truth has to be. This is something which I encourage, unearth facts, and get voices of the diaspora, both academia and the mainstream. The third observation, this concerns Mauritius. After independence, 1968, we shifted from the monocrop sugar. That was the only product we were exporting. And we took up the challenge of economically liberating ourselves from the clutches of IMF, from our colonizers, and also from the colonist type of advisors named from UK who were shouting doom and doom for our country. We diversified to such an extent that our economy, encouraging foreign investment, especially in tourism and textiles, and today, sugar barons control there is a two-tier system, which is a challenge for any. Third, fourth observation, this is an appreciation. With the support from India, we are creating history, new history. India investing heavily in education. We have a nimble workforce, which is up with further expansion in other periods of the and we want to have smart workforce. But without the support of India, the extensive collaboration, India's unique engagement with Mauritius would perhaps have been a banana. Ladies and gentlemen, coming to India and the diaspora, since the world economic power is shifting east, to Asia, to India and China, we have to remember one thing. The political minister, he has given a new status in foreign diplomacy, visits, regular visits to all. The appreciation for us in diaspora, very whatever. You are topping the world, education, healthcare, business, pharmacology. You are, people say, they call you the pharmacy of. We are all aware. You want the next superpower, next superpower.
We can't hear you clearly. Ambassador Chuni, we have problem hearing you. We
can't understand why it's like that.
Yes.
Understand?
But I understand some of the 4 points that you have made. Maybe you can write it down and we will try to look at that and do some research on that and get back to you for our next meeting when we meet. Some of the 4 points so you made. I'm sorry, unfortunately, your audio is very poor, so many participants are unable to hear. So,
yeah, even I can hear you very, very, very.
yes, there is some, I think that's the problem with the phone alone. Many times they don't work so well. Yes. So great. Thank you so much.
Sorry, sorry for that.
No,
sorry
it's all
that.
right. Next time we'll have you on laptop.
Okay. I'll try to have it on laptop.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you
All
so
the best
much.
and congratulations. Congratulations. It's
But
very
now
good
you are
initiative.
audible clearly. Why don't you speak like this?
Okay, I can continue.
Yes.
I took the phone in my hand now.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Please. Yes.
So coming to the political will of your prime minister has
Yes.
made India the best country in the world. Have a very bright future. We are all aware that you are become the next superpower of the world. And when the economy of others are stagnating or showing negative growth, are exceptionally up to percent. That is the world record.
Thank
we,
you.
friends from the Indian diaspora, the 33 million that we are, want to be the ambassador of India the world over. Professor, you can hear me right now? Hello? 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 Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, better.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have two, three proposals. Number one, if India could allow its successful startups to percolate to the diaspora countries, that will again bring us closer. Your startups could be small for you, but they are big for other countries, the diaspora countries. So integrate us in the soft power process. Second one, quite delicate. Integrate the overseas citizens of India, in your political system. What I mean, we got so many prominent diaspora representatives the world over. They could represent a constituency. I think it's thinking aloud. They could represent a constituency in the Indian Parliament.
Yes.
They are already representing as Vice President of US, Finance Minister in UK, and so many other ministers, Prime Minister of Mauritius, President of Suriname. I don't know. It's just a proposal.
Yes, thank you.
The third point of concern, and here I'm not very happy, though the World Hindi Secretariat is based in Mauritius, I still feel we are losing our cultural and linguistic values the world over. The youth have to be get interested in all that we have in Hindi. We cannot service to Hindi because Hindi is a very important language. It needs due recognition, and we have to see to it that people speak the language everywhere. Our attachment with India, especially those who are culturally attached, like Mauritius, the crux of the majority of the Indian origin people live in India. Their aspirations, they immerse the ashes of their dead family members in the Ganges. Just imagine. They want to have a dip in the Ganges. They want to visit the sacred places and participate in and others. So just to tell you, the British, how do you call that, the Western mind cannot understand, can never understand these links.
Yes.
It will be very difficult for a Western mind to understand this, and we know what is our attitude. So let me conclude by telling to all our distinguished guests that we are living in a VUCA world. VUCA, V-U-C-A, V for volatility, U for uncertainty, C for complexity, and A for ambiguity. We are not the Almighty. We have no way of knowing what will happen in the following few seconds. We don't know what will happen in the next 10 or 25 years. So what does the future of Indianness look like in an age of artificial intelligence and 5G, and in an age where a pandemic is with us for the past 2 years? Is our Indianness in danger? If so, should we consider protecting it? If so, should we, how do we go about it? And how long can we save? These are concerns about us, the diaspora, and of course, Mother India has to be very helpful to the diaspora, because as I said, we represent you the world over. We make India proud. So let's hope together it will be a win-win situation and the youth be roped into our system so that they can also part of it. So thank you very much and namaskar.
Thank you. Thank you, Ambassador Chuni. All your points are well noted. I cannot respond to some of them. Maybe there'll be other occasion, but very well thought out points. How to connect with the old diaspora, how to value their sentiments, how to integrate not just diplomatically from a distance, but integrate them in our policies in terms of our representative institutions. That will be great. We will, these are very important suggestions. We'll note it down and we'll discuss it further. Thank you so much. Now we have Ambassador Manju Seth from India, who had been working in diasporic countries, Reunion and Madagascar, the Francophone countries, the diaspora, the 5% of Indian global diaspora is Francophonie. A diaspora that we talk about, that we all discuss, that we all strategize to link is largely Anglophone diaspora. The Francophone with very special situation where the records were not kept, where ethnicity count is banned by the law, where the language has to be French, the culture has to be French, the assimilative culture and assimilative policy of France, still diaspora in Reunion, in Madagascar, is as closely attached to India as Anglophone, if not by language, if not by other institutions, at least by their sentiment. And they want to link with India as much as Anglophone or Lusophone diaspora intends to do. But are our policy in place? Are we able to connect with them with a different set of policy. After we have started the Diaspora Connect policy, Ambassador Anil also talked about Côte d'Ivoire, the Francophone countries, but a large number of Girmitia diaspora in some of these countries, along with the passengers, the business Indians who are Francophone. I don't think we have a specific policy even to provide them tailor-made policy to give them OCI card and other things which they keep complaining. I'm sure you will talk about this, and there are participants from Reunion who have genuine complaint. I think they will be around to talk about this. So over to you, Ambassador Manju Seth.
Namaskar, good evening, Professor Dubey. Thank you for this opportunity. And I wish all the other participants and all the other panelists a very good evening. It is indeed, what you have said, it's indeed very true that we do not have a tailor-made policy. And I think it's not possible to have a tailor-made policy. But at the same time, we need to devise within our overall policy framework certain special instruments to reach out to the Francophone diaspora, because a major constraint is, of course, the language, because they all speak French, the majority of them. Of course, now it is changing and they do speak English as well, and there are efforts to, and amongst the Gujarati origin community, they speak Urdu, they speak some Hindi and Gujarati. The original, the sort of the fourth, fifth generation younger diaspora, they are also speaking a lot of English. And there is interest in learning some Tamil, some Hindi, and other Indian languages. There is an interest depending on where they have originated from or where their origins in India are. So it is an interesting, and I would just like to again just mention something similar to what Ambassador Jugunayat mentioned. He said when he first went to Ivory Coast, he had this experience with the French Indian diaspora, Francophone diaspora, their French-speaking diaspora. Similarly, when I went to Reunion Island, it was an eye-opener for me as well, where it was, I mean, nobody ever even heard of that there were, so many, in the sense, in the general, I mean, people in the official this thing, of course, knew, but I'm saying in the general perception, no one knew that there was such a huge Indian diaspora there. 40% of the population almost. And they have come there in different, if you look at the historical aspect, in Reunion Island, there were many waves of migration. Of course, the first was the slaves who were taken by the French and some, though they don't want to acknowledge it, but they were taken as slaves to Reunion Island and even some to Mauritius. So they, that was the very first sort of batch of migrants. After that came the indentured labor, and then of course the passenger migrants who came in, and the Gujaratis who came in and set up trading and business. And then later on you had some professionals also going in, but the majority today are descendants of all these many strands of strands of migrants, and they want, and it was up till about I think 40-50 years ago, nobody even wanted to acknowledge their Indian origin, because it was in they felt it was in their interest to identify as French, to assimilate completely, and to not have any overt sort of Indian expression or expression of their Indianness in any way. Though in their homes they continued to pray to Indian gods and goddesses and followed some rituals, but the language was forgotten over the generations. And they, and as Professor Dubey mentioned, all their documents and everything were completely lost. So they had no way of knowing where exactly they came, but by word of mouth, etc., many of them realized that their ancestors came from either Tamil Nadu, some had an intermixed marriage from Bengal, from Chandanagar, and from Karaikal, and some came from Andhra, and some from Kerala. So from their parents and grandparents, some of them had heard, and so they said, these are our original origins are from these states. But they had no connect. And when they first reconnected with India, so to speak, was when India started doing better and we changed our policy towards them. When India started doing better, then they wanted to acknowledge themselves as Indians, and because they had moved up, the later generations had moved up the social ladder in their respect in Reunion Island. They wanted to connect with India and to acknowledge their Indianness. And then Indian associations were formed, and there are these beautiful temples that you will see all over Reunion Island, the most beautiful, colorful temples made by artisans brought in from India. Even the statues are brought in from India, and everything is, they're sort of the whole process for building of temples has been followed there in the traditional. And so it is a very interesting mix that we see in Reunion Island. And similarly, I just want to also mention in mainland France, and the third and the one more strand of migration was from Pondicherry. Pondicherry was or Puducherry as we call it now. It is from there that a lot of Indian origin diaspora are present in both in Reunion Island and in mainland France. In mainland France, if you see where I was also posted, I found that they're very low key. They do not want to show that they are even Indians. They keep behind, they're mainly in the government and small, either in some small businesses. Otherwise, by and large, they're professors. So they keep a low key and they don't even assert their Indianness in any way. In contrast, in Reunion Island, it was very, very, when I went, it was very, very overt. Now, they started celebrating all the Indian festivals. Diwali is celebrated on such a huge scale. You have a huge delegation coming in from India with Indian artists and celebrating Diwali as if it is, even better than we've, ever seen in India. Similarly, in France also, Diwali has started being celebrated, and so the cultural connect has become very strong in France. In Madagascar, it is still low key, and similarly in other francophone countries, it is still not that strong. But coming back to France, I'd also like to mention a little bit about that. In recent years, in France, of course, the people from Pondicherry, a lot of them have come in, but there are also many professionals. Then there were the artists, the fashion designers, and the fashion people in the fashion industry. They were one strand of people who came there. Then there was another strand of science and technology and R&D. In that sector, there was another sort of pattern or another group of migrants who are doing extremely well and who did extremely well in nuclear energy, in space, in cutting edge technology areas in France, and who continue to stay there, who lived on. And these Indian origin people organize themselves into some sort of professional organizations, but professional cultural organizations. And they also celebrate and organize Indian cultural festivals, Indian, dance and music and other such shows on a regular basis, including, of course, Diwali and even Janmashtami and other things are celebrated in quite a big way there. So the Indian connect or cultural connect is still very strong. But of course, as a policy, what the Indian government is looking at them is trying to sort of leverage from them is not very clear, because we don't have a very clear approach to Francophone diaspora. We are making, as you said, mainly focusing on the Anglophone and US, and to some extent in the Gulf. So we haven't really looked at how we can leverage these, high-tech people in the high-tech area in France. They also work in these, very interesting incubators. A lot of Indians are working there. A huge number of students are there now who continue to study there and continue to work after their studies. They form they're NRIs, but they're also a very strong segment of the migrants, of the PIOs in France, and they face a different set of challenges. So each of these different strands of migrants or persons of Indian origin or NRIs face different challenges in these countries. And India has tried to, or the Indian government has tried to facilitate especially for the IT professionals who've gone there. For some of the students, we tried to there were problems about giving visas or extending visas. So on those issues, and also on the the insurance, we have found out solutions to that. And so there have been some policy interventions there, but not as much as they would like. Similarly, now I think with the merging of the PIO and OCI card, I think there are many of the sort of reunion what should I say? The issue of issuing of the PIO cards or of the OCI cards has been resolved to some extent, but not fully resolved as yet, because again, they don't have any papers. But the French ambassador had said in 2014 that they would intervene and give some certification that these people are from India and they're not from there, but I don't know if it worked out or not. And another issue is about travel, about visas for Indians going there. So that was another thing for business purposes. That was another issue which the locals wanted to highlight, but we couldn't find a solution that easily. But I think they have, I think they can now have, what should I say, a little more travel, and facilitation for travel for business has been introduced. And I hope that the OCI cards are issued to all the latest all the people who have any problems. But it is an issue which will take some time to resolve, and that connect with India, though it is very strong, as I mentioned, all in Reunion Island, Diwali, of course, but even the Tamil New Year is celebrated very, in great gusto. And the other thing, through Study India program, Know India program, the Francophone young people are coming to India, but because everything is conducted in English, they feel a little bit, feel it's a handicap for them or a setback for them, and they're not able to be fully integrated into that program. So I think the government has introduced a French translator to work with them, and they have found this to be much better experience now. So the last batch of people who had come in, which we met about 2 years ago from Reunion Island, there were 2 girls or 2 people from Reunion Island, and they found that this time, because they were given, some effort was made to communicate with them in French, they found it a much better experience. Similarly, for the PPE, every year people from Reunion have been coming, from other Francophone countries have been coming, but because everything is conducted in English, it has been a slight problem for them. So we need to also, the government is also needs to focus on this. And another good initiative by the government was to introduce English classes, for the French students, English familiarization classes for those who want to come to study in India. And that has been quite useful as well. So these different Francophone countries have their own different challenges, but particularly vis-a-vis the Anglophone diaspora, the Francophone diaspora, have been slightly reticent in the past, but now they want to connect, and the youth are wanting to connect and reconnect with India. And we hope that India is able to respond and be able to get together. And even as Professor Ambassador Chuni said, artificial intelligence and all startups and all these huge opportunities are there, and there can be collaborations in the future and this can be facilitated. I'll end here now, and thank you again for this opportunity.
A strong urge of old diaspora in some of these Francophone countries, and also highlighting some of the shortcomings that we find in terms of engaging with them. The policy could have options, could have facility to do that. One needs to just emphasize its importance. Martining and neighboring island, as well as Reunion, Madagascar, shows that how much interest is there for India Connect. We also have Mr. Mahen Punsami from France, who will join us in discussion if he's there. But thank you so much for highlighting both the urge in Francophone region for Indian diaspora to connect and the challenge, and also the lack of policy option for India to connect with them. So we need to move on that. Thank you so much. Now we have another participant, Mr. Ashok K. Ramsaran. Many of you may be knowing him, those who are associated with Diaspora. He is a Gyanij born of Indian parents. He was educated in USA and resides in New York, USA. He is a president of Indian Diaspora Council and past president of GOPIO, New York. He is actively engaged in several community organizations, and he is the chair of New Presbyterian Hospital Advisory Council, a board member of St. John's University Center for Caribbean and Latin American Studies, co-chairs of Queensboro, President Civic Engagement Committee, Secretary of Caribbean American Coalition, and he has received several awards, including India's Pravasi Bhartiya Samman Award in recognition of outstanding community service. Over to you, Mr. Ashok Ramsaran.
Am I coming through loud and clear?
Yes, yes, thank you.
Are you hearing me loud and clear?
Yes,
Because I'm using my mobile.
No, we can hear you clearly. Please go ahead.
Good. To begin with, I'd like to have a moment to recognize those who have passed in the past 2 years with COVID and other tragedies, and recognize the people who have suffered so much. I myself, with my family, have endured quite a bit. My gratitude to you, Professor Dubey, and organizers of this forum, and inviting me to be with some esteemed colleagues as well. I also want to thank my friends and associates who are attending, such as Mehin, Shekhar, Gil, Sendhu, Jean, and others. I want to skip the anecdotal information and go directly to challenge and opportunities.
Okay.
As a proposal on the subject of re-engaging the diaspora and the future of Pravasi, Bhartiya, Divas, PBD, as we all know it. It's my belief that I am qualified to present this perspective and proposal on re-engaging the Indian diaspora and the future of PBD in view of my experience and expertise and active involvement over a long period of time with the Indian diaspora. I've been directly involved with Ministry of Overseas Indian Affairs and PBD since inception to 2016. As we all know, MOIA was established in 2004, as Professor Dubey said, as a full central government ministry of the Government of India. With that portfolio and supporting staff, MOIA, as we know it, made significant and continuing outreach and visited the far corners of the Indian diaspora and responded fairly, efficiently to queries, inputs, suggestions from the Indian diaspora groups and individuals. I'd like to focus on 4 or 5 major topics. PBD as engagement with the diaspora, the demise of Ministry of Overseas Indian Affairs, the curtailment of PBD, and the diaspora affairs within MEA and PBD changes, and my proposal for robust re-engagement. The sentiments shared by many is that the engagement with the Indian diaspora, in particular those born outside of India 2 generations or more, diminished dramatically when MOIA was merged to a department within the Ministry of External Affairs. And the annual PBD was held every 2 years with a different format, and the PIO card was merged with and replaced with the OCI card. While the concept should remain consistent and should be preserved, PBD seems to have lost some of its ideals, its focus, direction, and management. In my view, it has become more bureaucratic than diasporic. The proposed changes would be as follows. PBD should revert to an annual event to be held in India 7th to 9th of January with proper planning, coordination, and management by a global non-profit Indian organization, which can be a federation of several notable diaspora organization institutions such as academia. This effort to be in collaboration with MEA, OIA, which is important for policy changes resulting issues and concerns raised at PBD and the regional PBD events. Hosting by a global nonprofit would, with support of MEA, and OIA, would be a very prudent and practical outcome. Funding would be from international and government sources. Number two, regional PBDs should be held 4 times annually in countries and regions with significant NRI and PIO population, rotated and scheduled around notable dates and events. It is to be coordinated and managed by the same global nonprofit India Diaspora organization in collaboration with MEA and OIA. Hosting by the Indian Diaspora organization in specific and respective country/religion. Funding would be from national, private, and government sources. Recommendations: Africa, Far East, Oceania, Caribbean, Europe, North America. The suggested dates, so as not to conflict with the international PBD, will be April, June, August, October, spaced 2 months apart and 3 months after the annual PBD. Number 3, focus on issues of relevance, concern, and interest to the global Indian diaspora of NRIs and PIOs, and addressed by experts and diaspora participants selected objectively on the basis of merit, and the issues should include human rights, gender equality, next generation and social justice, inter-ethnic relations, and establishment of sister cities, villages, and colleges in India with countries of the Indian diaspora. Recommendations and resolutions to be distributed to various governments, international agencies, and institutions with follow-up by the assigned personnel. Number 4, PBSA, which is the Saman Ward, should be more efficiently organized based strictly on merit, geography, and NRI/PIO representation, transparency, and managed by the organizing global nonprofit organization in collaboration with MEA and the Vice President's office. And finally, uniformity of PIO and OCI cards for past generations, such as Reunion Island. I thank you for your attention. I'm available to answer any questions. Dr. Dubey has my contact information, and I'll be pleased to correspond with anyone. Thank you, and best wishes.
Thank you, Mr. Ashok Ramcharan. You had been very active in diaspora movement and you know its engagement trajectory. The foundations and merging of Ministry of Overseas Indians was based on certain experiences. These two Ministry of External Affairs and Ministry of for Overseas Indians, were not working in close coordination with each other. We still have, we have Indian senior bureaucrats here. They will testify how the tough thing becomes important, even in our bureaucracy, even like an other area. And it's good that it has merged and there is a smoother operation of Ministry of External Affairs on diaspora issues. I was one of those who was very critical of this, and in all my meeting with the Ministry of External Affairs, I used to say that these two ministries must be merged, because I had seen myself as an academic participating in this, that there was very serious lack of coordination between these two ministries, and many of the works were suffering because finally the External Affairs has to deliver, and Ministry of Overseas Indian goes from time to time for mini PBD and things like that. So there was lack of coordination, and so it's much smoother now in terms of policy implementation. The non-profit is a very good idea, but PBD, so long it is organized to communicate India's policy and receive the feedback from the diaspora, it will largely remain through the government hand. But if there is a non-profit initiative to bring diaspora and bring government together and talk beyond PBD, I think that will be really a welcome step instead of replacing government organized PBD, which has a particular set of ideas to be communicated and to get feedback on that. Thank you so much. But these suggestions are very important. We have taken note of that. It is being recorded. We have listed now Dr. Markandeya Rai, but I'm getting a message time and again from Mr. Ravindran Arjuna from Malaysia, who is saying it's already around 1 o'clock over there in night and he would like to speak. So with your permission, Dr. Markandeya Rai, can I invite him now to speak?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. And you are very much right that a lot of has been said, and you gave the really good scenario. What happened in pre 2000, means last century? What was the policy of government of India and how diaspora was neglected? In spite of all that, how diaspora has helped India. So I think yesterday was the Vishwa Hindi Divas, and Hindi has been also mentioned that language binds the people. In spite of all the diversity in the diaspora and having in 190 countries of 22 million Indians, they are our power, they are our energy. And that is what I want to say, that India has learned that one very difficult way. And in 2003, how the Indian diaspora was started, I think we have not harnessed completely the strength and the resources of Indian diaspora. Only we should not see that how much money they are bringing. Rather, I will agree with Ambassador Anil to add that earlier I was also an RI for about 30 years, and I can see that how we used to feel, and I have interacted with many diaspora people in many countries, especially in Africa. I have gone through the process of as an international observer in a number of countries, including Nelson Mandela's election and Mozambique, other places. And I have realized that everybody from diaspora feels very lot of feeling about India and connection also. But there was no good response from India. That is what has been said earlier. What I'm saying that they are not heard also what is their views. Many times we just do the lip service to talk that yeah, they are there and they should help India, this and that, in the term of investment or other thing. But most important thing, they want engagement. Few months before, I had organized two webinars, one on East Africa, what is the diaspora role in strengthening relation with India. A second was Pan-African, where Professor Dubey was also one of the speakers. And whole thing came out. The feeling that whatever the promise, when Prime Minister also goes to go, there is no good follow-up. Like take example, cancer machine was agreed by Prime Minister to give to Nairobi Hospital, which was not done for many months. And moreover, diaspora is not recognized the way they should be by our embassy. Most important thing, I'm happy that many ambassadors are also in this station. I have realized that we never feel that if any trouble we can go to our embassy, because especially the PIO and OCI card people, they don't feel that embassy can do anything. Even to NRIs also. So many other embassies, they have very friendly relation with us, but not Indian embassy. So there should be some training to our diplomats, how they can promote relation between PIOs, Indian diaspora and India. Now, what I'm saying that we are doing this know your country, and youth should also be engaged, not only through the startup or that, maybe the way Asna Kana has mentioned, that we should have a good communication and which through embassy to PIO. they want connections. So time has come not to talk. We should go for action, action, action. How we can bring together, not only in monetary term and in investment, like culture, social, and maybe at the level of people to people contact. And that is what we are here today to see that how we can influence the policy of government of India, which was not stable any time. And that foreign policy about our people all over the world, they are very successful in their own way, in business, in the term of intellectual also, and we can categorize, diversify them the way you want to, that laborers and business and intellectuals which are going, but they are Indians and they want to be connected with India. They can do a lot for India and they are looking towards India for their good connectivity. So I think ODI has taken the initiative, and perhaps this will bring the new dimension, a new direction for good connection between India. And Prime Minister also wants that one. Prime Minister Modi is trying his best to see that how he can connect wherever he goes. He talks with our diaspora, he meets with our diaspora, he jumps in the crowd, and he just try to know the well-being of the people. So we have to promote his ideas and to have a good, strong relation with our countries where our diaspora is. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Rai. I forgot to introduce you
No,
because
no.
I thought Mr. Ravindran will speak before you. Dr. Markandeya Rai was academician professor earlier. Then for a long time, he was UN diplomat, served in United Nations Human Settlement Program for many decades. And now back to India, he is Chancellor of an Indian university and engaged into several civic society activities. And he is also associated with ODI as its patron. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much for your very insightful observation, because you were a diaspora for over 30 years and then back to India. So what you share is experience, not just an academic narratives.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I think at this stage, I will simply invite Mr. Ravindran Arjuna to speak and request Mr. Sandeep Hira to excuse because it's past midnight there in Malaysia, and he has been messaging me that it's too late for him. So over to Mr. Ravindran Arjuna, who is a founding member of GoPio Malaysia, and he is currently Secretary General of GoPio International, the PIO chapter, and ex-president of GoPio Malaysia also. He is also the current president of Malaysian Association of Indian University Graduates, MAYUG, which is one of the mother organizations that promoted GoPio and several PIO organizations, and still is very active nerve center for Indians in Malaysia, especially the large number of people who had come to India in 50s and 60s and were educated here. So over to you, Mr. Ravindran Arjuna. I hope he has not slept by now. Mr. Ravindran? Mr. Ravindran, I could see you are online. Yes. Yes, yes. Sorry to keep you awake so long. Yes. We can't hear you. We can't hear you. We can't hear you. You are muted. Oh, your mic is not working. It has gone to sleep. Still not working. We can't hear you, Mr. Ravi. Your microphone is not working. Okay, please. No, we can't hear you. Please set right your microphone. In the meanwhile, we move to the next speaker. Mr. Sandeep Hira. Mr. Ravi, please fix your mic. We can't hear you. Yes. Mr. Sandeep Hira. His pen name is Dev Babu Ram. He's an independent scholar and activist. He studied economics at Erasmus University, Rotterdam, and published several books on Indian diaspora. He is actively associated as a project director of Sarnámihuis, which is the co-host for this program. And he works on several projects that connects diaspora with India and diaspora among themselves, and produces several literatures and books, and quite a good number of them I could see on their website. So sometime when you visit that, you will see that there is very serious effort to capture the narratives and history of Surinamese diaspora, especially on their website. Over to you, Mr. Sandeep Hira.
Thank you, Professor Dubey. Am I loud and clear? Can everybody
Yes.
hear me? All right, thank you very much. I'm so glad to be part of this event. I've learned so much already from the contributions of other panelists, so thank you very much. What I want to do is delve on a small thing and a larger thing. The small thing is when you go to the website of Sarnámihuis, then you will see how the ODI and Sarnámihuis in a very short period of time have been able to set up a memorandum of understanding where you could see what we are going to do in the coming years. Community Connect and Diaspora Connect are projects which we are going to engage in the coming years. I will touch on one particular project which is very important for many people also in other diaspora countries, which is what we are building now is a infrastructure for family search in India and now in Holland and hopefully also in Suriname, where through the ODI, people who want to search their family could set up a documentation which Sarnámihuis prepares with them of all the information that is required to find the village and family in India, communicate about the research results of this project, and a bigger part is we are building a web application where you could connect the village with the historical name 150 years ago with the village which is now here through Google Maps. And we have, the registers from Suriname in South Africa for which you can do it. That's now in the making. But I want to put out forward here an idea to the community of researchers and universities. And that is from a theoretical framework which I am developing for measuring identity formation. The diaspora is the dispersion of people from one central geographical area to other parts in the world. And I use this concept of institution, sociocultural institution, as an entity that produces and transmits norms and values as it is expressed in material and immaterial cultures. So material culture is, for example, food, clothing, religious attributes, and immaterial things like rites and rituals and ideologies. So in the theoretical framework that I'm developing, I see 5 trajectories of evolution of institutions that form ethnic identity, and which we then could study in the Indian diaspora. One is that you take out the institutions, for example, in music, the bhajans, you take it from India and it's just basically unchanged in the diaspora country. Then the other one is you have institutions and you take it, but they are adapted. This adaptation, for example, in the case of Holi, the celebration of Phagwa, which is a Hindu feast. But now in Suriname, it has go beyond religion, and it's celebrated at school by other ethnic groups. So how does it work? How has it changed? How did the change came about? Then you have institutions that have disappeared. For example, the Tasha procession, which is this uh, old Shia event tradition, which came to Suriname and existed up until the 1960s, and then it disappeared. Of course, the language is another example. So how is the process of disappearing of these institutions? Then we see institutions from other ethnic groups incorporated in Indian institutions. Take, for example, in Trinidad, you have the steel bands, and now steel band is used to play Hindi songs like Sohani Raat. And then there are new institutions that are created that were not part of India. Obviously, the commemoration and celebration of the Indian Rifle Day. One of my friends in music tells me that the Dantal is a specific Surinamese inventions in Ghana music. I'm not sure if that's true. So what I'm saying is that the theoretical framework enables you to set out a research program, and obviously it would be best if the universities take the initiative in this and carry out systematic research to see how identity formation is taking place through these 5 dimensions, and report on it and publish it, and etc. So this is just one of the ideas which came about, one of the old ideas I had, but due to the cooperation with ODI, a lot of ideas which were old are coming back, and I really thank Ajay for his leadership in enabling to have all these things blossom. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hira. I think that's a very good suggestion, and the way you have conceptualized this, we'll take it up and move forward. Thank you so much for being part of us and taking initiative despite being a technical person. You had been doing so much on diasporic issues. Thank you so much. Now we have Mr. Ravendran Arjuna, whom I just introduced. Hope this time his mic works.
Thank you, Prof. Can you hear me now?
Yes, very well, but we can't see you.
Yeah, I think once I on my video, there's some interruption, so I'll speak.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof, and also the ODI team for giving this opportunity. Allow me to pay tribute to His Excellency Vajpayee, who has been instrumental in the formation of GOPIO, and I think it's through his efforts in our earlier engagement with India. I used to call it the first level engagement. We were engaged social, cultural, religion, heritage, root-wise, and in that process, a lot of things materialize, like the cultural centers, the PIA cut, or now the OCI cut, the formation of MOIA, scholarships of diaspora students, and also youth engagement and cultural engagement. I also want to take this opportunity to thank, and I'm very proud to be speaking in the presence of my very old friends whom I had the privilege to meet, Mr. Chandrasekhar Bhatt, Professor Chandrasekhar Bhatt, and of course, Mr. Chuni, the former minister, and also the Ashok Ramsaran, and I'm not forgetting also the ambassador to India at that time from Suriname, Madam Asha Kanthaj. Prof, I would like to go straight to the challenges there. I think one of the important things is we must understand the dynamics of the diaspora is actually changing, especially among the youth. And it's very important that we create a sense of belonging. I can say this because I find very difficult to get my students from Malaysia to actually go to India and study. They don't, the younger generation don't seem to have that sense of belonging. And this is going back to what Prof. Sandani has said. I think the civilization connect will be one way forward. And with the current technology and all this, I think there must be more effort or ways has been found how we can understand and create a sense of belonging, especially to the third, fourth, fifth generation people of our diaspora community. The other thing is that having spoken so much engaging India, one of the, which I very strongly agree with what you call Ambassador Ansha Khanhaj, the inter-diaspora networking is very important, but is seriously lacking. And I think if this inter-diaspora networking is given a little bit more thought, then you will notice, you will realize this is a very resourceful area, and which can both benefit India and as well as the PIO community or the NRI community. This is one important aspect. I feel that generally, not only generally as PIOs all over the world, outside India, we are lacking very strongly. And from the aspect of education, the contribution that we may need as PIOs, especially those on the Southeast Asian countryside, is the in the education sector, skilling and reskilling, especially in Tibet, is very important. All of you must acknowledge, I'm sure, India has got the right technology, the high skills, and the competitiveness there. I think this is what is much needed for the PIO community outside India. And there has to be a lot of research and development work, especially on the historic contribution of Indians to the nation building of the host country. I want to say in Malaysian context, these contributions are slowly being taken away from our history books, and there has to be some kind of effort to make sure the correct history is being put in place. And this is also another area that we need to work together, not only with India, also with the other diaspora countries. Finally, I do not want to talk much except for this. And from the political aspect of it, I think there has to be some kind of enhanced development engagement, reflecting India's support for its PIOs. This will be a very meaningful one. In the experience of Malaysia, I would like to share, if the support, like in the case of, we had some issues with the China embassy, Chinese people there, in one of the streets in Malaysia, we were surprised the Chinese ambassador came down and defended the Chinese people there, Chinese, what do you call the Chinese PIOs, I mean Chinese origin people there. So India, I think, has grown. I understand the political and diplomatic issues, but then we need to have that kind of big brother, father behind us, so that issues of racial discrimination, issues of human rights issues can be meaningfully tackled. And this is important. And if that has been there, I think today we could have, the Indian community in Malaysia itself would have made it a point to send back Zakir Naik to India for further action. And finally, I always believe in this, 35 million PIOs all over the world. And I think we should be the Jews, or the Indian Jews around the world, because if we are connected, and it is a fact, Indians are very hardworking, resourceful, and because we are not connected well, we have not been doing a good job in making in being successful in our despite being a minority. So with this, I still feel that there's a lot more challenges. The role play of India and also the diaspora has to be more effective, so that we can move on further for a better community at large. Thank you, Prof. And Prof, thank you very much for including all of us. And I hope, I'm sorry it is past midnight. I had an early engagement forum. My apologies for requesting for early. Thank you, Prof.
I think you raised very important points, and we have taken notes for our writings that we'll produce out of this. Um, some of the things that you said about the embassies, the Indian policy to recognize PIO, I think that needs to be scaled up. It has already started, and we need to move further on that. The world is moving strongly through their diaspora. We need not be shy of this, and we need to be more proactive. Thank you so much. And we have a speaker who is not so shy of it, but very active on this. We have Professor Anand Singh, University of KwaZulu-Natal, Howard Campus, Durban, South Africa. Professor Anand Singh had written quite a bit on Indian diaspora. He's a professor of anthropology. He had been a regular visitor of our PBD and diaspora engagement program. And he speaks for diaspora of his country and outside as well. Before I invite him, let me just acknowledge we have our colleague from the center, Dr. Gayatri Dikshit, Dr. Jamal Musa. We have our colleague from Pondicherry, Dr. Hao Kip, who is a former graduate from the university. We have also Dr. Ajay Sahu, who is the director of Diaspora Study Center in Hyderabad Central University, where Professor Chandrasekhar was teaching there. We also have Dr. Geraldine Jagannath from South Africa. Several of them are still here since beginning. So thank you so much, and please do participate after Professor Anand Singh. We have a discussion session. Over to you, Professor Anand Singh.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, very loud.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll try to keep to my 10 minutes as far as possible. By now, I'm sure most of the participants, if not all of you, are pretty tired anyway. Why you left me for the last, only you know, but I probably hope to wake all of you up.
Exactly.
One of the things that I just want to say is that, you know, we got to be absolutely careful about the way in which we romanticize about the Indian diaspora going to different parts of the world with nothing and then developing and engaging in upward mobility to extent where they become a very envied minority wherever they've been. There's a problem with something like this, is that we tend to forget, for instance, the extent to which we are still part of minorities that live in hegemonic societies that really continue to marginalize us in ways that don't give Indian minorities the kind of opportunities that they should be getting. Now, you know, in South Africa, keeping in line with your call for papers in terms of opportunities and challenges. The challenges here in South Africa for the Indian diaspora as a minority remains a struggle economically and politically. You know, we have a hierarchy, and the strange thing is that no longer are whites at the top and coloreds or Indians second or third, and then Africans fourth. Right now, it's the Africans, and then it's women first, and then it's men, and it becomes extremely difficult. Indians are only 2.5% of the population in South Africa, but affirmative action works in a very opposite direction here in this country, to the extent that affirmative action, unlike the rest of the world, applies to the majority and not the minority. The norm in the world today is to apply affirmative action that protects minorities, but it doesn't happen in South Africa. So forcing this, in many ways, forces the middle class and upper classes from the Indian segment of South Africa's population to get their children to excel in academic performances and in business so that they are not left out. But these are still in the upper classes. The working classes are continuously marginalized and they continue to have an extremely tough time in this country, continue to be marginalized. That constitutes 50% of the PIO population in this country, no less than that. So the hierarchy in terms of job opportunities is a tough one, and it's going to get even tougher as African women and African men take first and second place before everybody else. And unless the posts are full, and sometimes they're not occupied, even though there might not be any takers for those positions. Now, over and above that, what is really important here is the fact that, for me personally, this webinar is taking place literally exactly 2 years from the day that I personally became a victim of what is actually happening in India and percolating into the Indian diasporic population all over the world. I'll give you a couple of crude examples. You all know, for instance, what has happened in numerous countries when the Citizenship Amendment Act came about. It was completely distorted. There was mobilization from particular groups, not just against the act, but against the Prime Minister of India, as well as the government that is elected in India. But then it also filters into the diasporic population in our communities as well, to the extent that they force us to try to talk about the so-called Modi government and the BJP and the RSS in negativity. Coupled with that, we have just recently, for instance, the issue about the security of the Prime Minister in the Punjab. Now, what was interesting about that was that, or what is interesting about that, is that there are a number of threats that emanate from the UK, from the US, and from Canada. But that also affects the diasporic populations there too. And here in South Africa, depending upon how you are connected to people, those who are anti-BJP, anti-Modi, make it appear as though if you are Hindu, then you are almost automatically a supporter of the BJP or the RSS. And why is this particularly important? Because on the 11th of January, 2020, at about 12 o'clock, midday, I got a call from a person who identified himself as a lawyer. I have no problem in identifying my name because there's a case against him, and my lawyer is actually dealing with that. He identified himself as Yusuf Ismail, and he accused me of wanting to attend a meeting on the 12th of January to set up a BJP and RSS cell in Durban. I knew about a meeting that was going to take place on the 12th of January, being Swami Vivekananda's birthday. And guess what? He accused me and all of those organizers of that meeting, which had nothing to do with setting up a BJP or RSS cell in Durban, South Africa, but who continued to try and corner me to get me to say something against the Indian government or the RSS. When he saw he was not winning with me, after almost an hour of trying to get me to say something, he cut off the phone. He said, look, I got other things to do and I will give it up. But what was interesting about that was that he put it onto ITV. Now, my understanding of ITV was that it exists in London. I didn't know there was an Islamic TV in South Africa. And he also loaded it onto YouTube. So that conversation I had with him was combined with another conversation he had with a guy by the name of Salman Khan, not the one who shot the black buck in Rajasthan and is out of jail right now. This is the Salman Khan, literally his name, from Kashmir who is actually involved in mobilizing people here, engaging in anti-India activities. Now, I got caught up in a situation where I was not even going to attend the meeting. I was actually 50-50 about it. But because I stand up for what I wish to believe in, and it is my choice, these guys believed that I was actually sent to that meeting. I had nothing to do with it. But after that almost hour talk, what transpired, at least within me, was that I am going for the meeting the next day. Simply because I was provoked to a point where by the time I got ready to go for the meeting the next day, I started asking myself on the way to it, am I going to attend the meeting because I want to see whether they're really setting up an RSS BJP cell, or whether I want to confront the guy who called me because he said that I'm coming for the meeting because it's an open place and it's being held in a restaurant. I said to him, if you come there, you're going to end up very unpleasantly at that meeting. So I just wondered what I was going there for. But the point that I'm actually making is that whatever is happening in India is filtering into the diasporic communities, and we now are being, in a manner of speaking, forced to defend ourselves because of the ways in which the BJP and the RSS are being perceived by groups who are anti-BJP, anti-Indian civilization. Now, I'll end with this point. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Oh, I just pressed the wrong button here. Sorry. Yeah. In 1996, Samuel Huntington published Clash of Civilizations. And a number of people rightfully summarized the book as one that is actually a clash between two different civilizations, seeing it in North America and seeing it emanating from the Middle East, with Muslims now replacing the socialist bloc because they had all dismantled by then. Now, as much as Samuel Huntington is a far more popular scholar than I might ever be in my life, I don't believe he actually got his title, the title of the book, right. Because the clash of civilizations that he refers to is actually an ideological conflict between Islam and Christianity, who are really not only fighting to dominate the world, but India is also becoming the new playground for the contestation of the ideas and the ideologies of Christianity and Islam. And what I'm saying here is that this contestation of ideas is not going to be played out, and the real clash of civilizations, as India tries to rebuild and reinvent its Indian civilizational model, is that it is actually going to be a clash of civilizations between Western democracies and Islamic countries, because they're totally against this emergence of the Indian civilizational model. We all know why they are against it, or maybe we should know, but there's a lot of opportunities and challenges that we have to work with in order to try to understand what kinds of opportunities and challenges are brought out by this re-emergence of India wanting to go it alone and not follow a Nehruvian socialist model. So this is how I see my invitation to this webinar. 10 minutes is up. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Anand Singh. You know why you were kept last. You will now kickstart the debates that we are going to have now on that. But just to reiterate that Indian civilization is very inclusive. There is no problem with any faith. It's only the way the history, the way the narrative was constructed in last few decades, in a last one century, where these things were brought in to distort Indian civilizational inclusiveness, where debate, faith, the way you worship the gods was not an issue, but was made an issue, and where one faith was made to be a pampered one at the cost of the civilizational inclusivity and the continuity that we have. So that issue will continue, will settle down as it opens up itself now. But thank you so much for highlighting some of the Indian issues that is because of globalization reaching out in at the 75 years of India independence that we see that our domestic politics conflicts gets transmitted to diaspora countries and plays out there so actively. And that is something we need to look at academically. Thank you so much. Now we are through with some of the panelist speakers, and we're very distinguished person waiting and listening to all of them, but we cannot complete this webinar without their intervention. So I would request some of Professor Binsley Samru, Professor Chandrasekhar Bhatt, and anybody else who wants to speak and share their view on or react to some of the issues that have been raised. Dr. Ajay Sahu, any one of you, please. May I request first Professor Binsley Samru from Trinidad and Tobago, who had been one of the foremost scholar on diaspora issues and very knowledgeable person that we have in this webinar. Professor Binsley Samru.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, very clear. Now you have muted yourself. Yeah. No, it's okay. I can hear. Yes.
Been very excellent, and it has provided an enormous amount of information for those of us who are devising syllabuses for the teaching of the Indian diaspora in the Caribbean area. So I want to say how much, all of us who have participated have learned out of this seminar. I just want to highlight two of the speakers. One is Ashma Kanhai, and I want to emphasize her point that what we should be doing more than anything else is connecting the Indian diaspora to the major areas where they are drawn from, and that is UP and Bihar. When I went to visit my own ancestors in the Gaon, just outside of Bhartiya, like her, I was able to converse with them not in Hindi, but in Bhojpuri, which is the language that they brought UP and Bihar into the diasporic areas. So one of the recommendations I would make is just to support what she's saying about there should be greater contact between Girimityas and the descendants of Girimityas and the ancestral places in UP and Bihar. And the other point I want to make is to congratulate Sandhu Hira, Dev Baburam. I knew him as Sandhu Hira for a very long time, on that excellent idea for convening a conference where we work out those theoretical parameters that he has drawn out, which I have to tell him I think are very excellent. And I would like to say that if there is any way in which the University of the West Indies could be involved in it, or the National Council for Indian Culture in Trinidad and Tobago, we would be more than interested in participating in a conference which will set out those parameters for the further study of the Indian diaspora. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Professor Samaru. I think these are very valid points, and we will work on this. Professor Bhatt.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Wonderful hearing throughout from 8 o'clock India time to 10:45 now. I don't want to hold on for a long time to keep you awake, but certainly there are a few points which I would like to highlight. I begin with what Professor Brinsley mentioned, quoting Kanai, Ambassador Kanai, that we need to get together much closer, and one of the ways is through the NGOs. And she has already promised you that you will have ODI branch in in Guyana. But I think the whole thing is there need to be greater connectivity, specifically with the Caribbean countries, which have lost the connectivity with India because of the distance, and they have lost many. Along with that, language and so on, etc. Suriname could talk Bhojpuri, which Professor Brinsley emphasized. And
Yes.
I can't agree more with saying that one of the premier members of India's mobilized mobilization, and I recall how the we had with the PIOs every time I came to Delhi for conferences, and it's a marvelous thing to do, and it need to be incorporated in our textbooks as again quoting Professor Brinsley, that there need to be really emphasis on the historical aspect, which has been, the chapters have been missing because of the British history which we have gone through. And I think, yes, with this, I shall
Thank you.
stop here. A couple of things I would have liked to say, but time is running.
Okay.
Thank you very much. It's a marvelous
Thank you
get together.
here. Yes.
And congratulations.
Thank you for being here.
And keep it up.
I'll also request Professor Samru to share with us his syllabus output, because we also run courses at postgraduate level on diaspora studies at JNU. So that will be very useful. And Professor Bhatt is always one phone call away. So we get him for all our projects. Thank you so much. Now it's Dr. Smith. Would you like to say something on Francophone, or anybody else who is there from Francophone region?
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
I just read Shashi Tharoor's book about the English way, or the British way to divide the Indian population, who up till then was in peace with each other. And we should not make the same mistake as the Indians did with, the English did with India. We should be united as we were before the English did a very bad English influence. Don't forget that.
Yes, no, that's
Don't
point is
forget
well
that.
made. We understand that some challenges will come on that issue, but we have been very inclusive by civilization, by culture, and we will confront that by our own good deeds to win them over. Yes, thank you. It's open for anyone to share the view or to comment or to suggest something or to ask question. Please go ahead. Please unmute yourself, identify yourself and speak. I know.
Ajay,
Yes.
can I quickly? I just want to say hello to Brinsley and
Yes.
to Chandrasekhar Bhatt. Good
Yes.
evening to you.
Good evening. Yes. Yes, so I know it's a long discussion and presentation. Many of you would have got tired, but if still some of you want to make some point, this is the time you can intervene, please. Just unmute yourself and speak. I think everyone is tired. It has been long. So may I now request
Namaste.
Yes, please.
Ajay Dubey ji, Raj here from Singapore. We met during one of the conference in Malaysia,
Yes,
KL.
yes. Okay, I couldn't identify on that. Okay, great. Please,
Yeah,
please welcome.
just one or two observations. It's a fantastic idea, though it's now 1:30 here in Singapore.
Oh, I'm
But
sorry.
but I was excited to to listen all of them. It's a great initiative. Maybe you can fix a frequency for this kind of seminars, and maybe country-wise. Now this is kind of global like a mini PVD kind of. This is fantastic. But maybe country-wise, maybe two countries or regional, like we are in Southeast Asia, so something like that. That will be more like ASEAN. We have diaspora is everywhere. So this is a great initiative. It will be very, very useful and helpful for all of us. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining and being awake so late. Sorry, I missed you. I couldn't see through your name over here. Okay, great. Anybody
Thank you.
else? Please.
Yes.
Professor
Go
Yes.
ahead. Professor Dubey, this is Ashnakan Hai from Suriname.
Oh, yes, yes. You are still there. Yeah.
Hi,
Great.
I listened throughout, and I have to say, it's been wonderful to, and actually very reviving to listen to everybody. I would like to still suggest, and I'm happy that the eminent personality of Professor Brinsley Somaru agreed that maybe we should initiate on with regard to the Caribbean diaspora PIO community that we, and I'm taking also considering also those in Holland, in the Netherlands, that we initiate the contact with the government of Uttar Pradesh, and maybe it would be a useful suggestion that we reach out to communities. And as far as I know, for instance, there is a diaspora faculty or a sub-faculty in the Motihari University, I believe. So maybe something could be initiated with the help of ODI. Yet I do think that we should definitely reach out to the UP state government to see, especially now when, as they say, when the iron is hot. I don't know. I can't translate this.
You should strike when the iron is hot.
Ji, thank you very much. Congratulations with this very successful webinar, and hope to be in better times where all of us could meet each other again. Missing the chai from JNU, so a big hello and thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Good to hear you time and again. Yes, anyway, any person, please feel free to.
If I may add, Prof. Ravi
Yes.
here. I want to bring up this actually was brought up by Ambassador Asha also regarding engaging NGOs in the country. That will be a very effective one because in the Malaysian experience, the Indian High Commission of India and Malaysia has been doing that very effectively. They very effectively engage the NGOs, and we have been able to do quite a bit of work with them. So the concept of working with NGOs to actually understand the dynamics of diaspora will be a meaningful one. Thank you, Prof.
Thank you. Thank you for being awake so late. Yes. Anybody else, please?
Yes, hi. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, please go ahead.
Right, I will go then. My name is Kishan. I'm from the Netherlands. In 2023, it will be exactly 150 years that the first batch of Indian immigrants went to Suriname and later on they immigrated to Holland. I have actually one question. Is there a specific repository where articles and journals are being stored for us to access for active researchers? Because the Indian immigration of the past, even the present and in the future, it is a very crucial point to study for future generations. And the people that are present here and who are living outside of India and even with India, we are a generation that can still keep Hinduism and our tradition, our culture alive. In the next few generations, it won't maybe exist anymore. I myself, I hold a Master's of Science in Cybersecurity degree. I see that most Indian or most IT companies, they have purposely Indian CEOs just to give Indians the feeling that you have this apnapan, it is your own. So once you put an Indian CEO in an Indian company, the Indians will work much harder. And what I have also noticed is that the slavery we had before, the indentured labor, it is reinvented nowadays by multinational corporates. This is not being discussed, and this will be maybe a PhD research topic in 50 or 100 years later on from now. How we have a second batch of immigrants, people who are in India, highly skilled, and they have IT jobs abroad. That's not for ODI. So my question will be, is there a specific research repository for people to access who wants to dive deeper into, because we have many researchers present in the call today, knowledgeable people, so
Yes,
we
I
can
think,
have a
thank
community
you.
to interact.
I think
Welcome.
we need to approach the researcher who are specifically focused on Caribbean, on Suriname. You have your own Professor Hassan Khan. You have Sarnámihuis. You have many others you can find out even in university in Suriname. In India, of course, we have a general depository for all the migrants. And so it's possible to, it's not a difficult exercise to do that. The second point is very important what you said, and I had presented a paper on that, what you are saying that needs to be researched, that how the indentureship experience of hiring the most sought after labor of those days, who were the professional cane cutters, professional agriculture worker, whose not just the heart, but also the pride in that they are the agriculture worker, was similar to what you have, that they are the digital workers, that they suffered the same thing which our digital workers are suffering now, the body shopping. So Dutch didn't have the colonies as such to, so they bought under contract from the British. The same way the digital workers are hired and shifted to different companies under body shopping. They are kept on bench. They are taken for certain promised year. They are promised big thing. But if you go and see their condition in many countries, 4 or 5 of them stay in one room, and which is not allowed by the hotel, and they are paid so low, but they feel so good about this because they think this is by education. They are digital engineers. Similarly, in the past, these cane cutters, these professional agriculture workers were very proud because those days, as there is a saying in Hindi, Uttam kheti madhyam ban nisat chakari bhik nidan. So those days, the most prestigious profession was agriculture because agriculture was backbone of the world economy. So those who work in that, they were the most preferred one. And this was the value system of India those days, that agriculture is the most important one. So they gave their heart and soul to work for that, and they really feel proud of that. And similarly, the digital workers of today, the workers of the knowledge economy, think that they are in a big league because they are the digital workers. And as you very rightly said, 100 years ago, when you write the history, you see the way they are paid, the way they are kept on benches, the day the body shopping takes place. You will find that there will be parallel from that. So I did a paper on that, and maybe sometime you can share that. Thank you so much for raising this point, which we need to research. Anybody else? Somebody wanted to speak?
Yes, Professor Dubey, can I say something? This is
Please.
Mani from Singapore.
Yes, sir.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
yes. How are you?
I'm very fine. I
Yes,
spoke in
please.
the last meeting, so
Yes,
I
yes.
found these presentations very interesting. One of the things that we could have covered is the Portuguese diaspora.
Lusophone,
Because
yes.
the Portuguese ruled, I think, one of the first colonies in Goa, and then many parts of India. They spread Catholicism. And then the other one, which struck me, this because it's very late here, I'm half sleepy, is that we are talking about youth. Nobody mentioned about the impact of Indian cinema on the youth in Southeast Asia, for instance. I mean,
Globally.
many of the Tamil youths in Singapore, because I advise a lot of youth organizations in Singapore, many of them only know India through the films. Because
Yes.
India is not taught in our schools, so India is learnt from the films. Thank you very much.
No, thank you. That's very well made suggestion, that the role of film and internet media in making India known and making Indian origin people connect with each other as well as with their culture in India is very important, and we need to work on that to make it much more effective. Thank you so much. Anybody else? I heard some lady wanted to make some point. No.
There
So
was a
thank you so
gentleman who
much.
said,
Yes, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
there was a gentleman who said that when they had a problem in Malaysia, the Chinese ambassador came, but the Indian ambassador did not. This is consistent all over. The embassies treat the community with absolute total contempt, and we would appreciate a little more respect in the way they treat our own community. Thank you.
No, I think that point is made several times. We have several ambassadors here on the panel, I think, from India, and Diaspora feels that way. You have been very, you have been very forthright on that, but we as Indian also feel many times the same way. So I think we share the same anguish that the embassy needs to be more proactive and
not bureaucratic.
more proactive, not just with diaspora, but also with Indians who go there as a visitor also. So that point is very well made. Thank you. So I think it's quite late by now. It's even 11 o'clock in India. So thank you so much to all of you to be here since so long and contributing and listening and enriching us. We will record this. It has been already recorded. We'll prepare a report also on this. And please keep in touch. There will be many more opportunity as suggestion came that we can do regional to be more focused one to cover some of these area. We'll do that. And over to RC for a formal vote of thanks.
Thank you so much, sir, and good evening, everyone. Firstly, I would like to thank everyone for participating. I would like to thank Professor Dubey for encouraging us and organizing such a webinar and conferences always. I would like to thank Shri Shamparande ji, all the presenters, Shri Shamparande ji, Professor Santishri, Ambassador Anil, Ambassador Ashna Kanhai, Ambassador Mukesh Vachuni, Mr. Ashok Ramsaran, Ambassador Manju Seth, Dr. Markande Rai, Mr. Sandu Hira, Mr. Ravi, Professor Anand Singh, for presenting your views and giving us a coherent idea what a Diaspora Connect, what you feel and what overall different views on Diaspora Connect. I would also like to thank Professor Chandrasekhar Bhatt, Professor Brinsley Samaro, Dr. Veronica Smith, Professor Mani, for presenting another aspect of diaspora as well. I would also like to thank Mr. Mahen Poinswamy from France for attending and being a part of the conference. I don't know if he's currently there or not. And I would also like to thank the team who helped in organizing the conference. Dr. Sushmita Rajwad, Dr. Jyoti Tyagi, Sarita, Sameer, Chani Tiwari, Ivy, and everyone else who's been a part of this conference and organizing it, and the ODI team who's always been there for all of us whenever we need help and one call away. Thank you so much, everyone, and thank you for staying so late.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Dubey, for this marvelous treat to all of us, diaspora lovers.
Thank you so much for all of you to being so awake till so late. I would also like in the last to thank our partner, organizing partner, Sarnámihuis, to take part in this, and we request all of you to join this initiative to enrich our understanding and to contribute to diaspora engagement, connectiveness, both in a spoke and will relationship. We meet soon again physically, God willing. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you and good night, sir.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night to all of you as well.